Welcome back to another edition of the Around the NFL broadcast. My name is Dan Hansis. I come to you from a virtual room filled with some heroes. Greg Rosenthal, Mark Sessler. Congratulations, boys. We have passed June 1st. You're not one of the post-June 1st cuts. Good job.
That does feel good. Although, based on the scowl on Mark's face before the show, I don't know. Maybe he's still expecting the cuts to come. I'm not sure.
No, I mean we can trade you and save a lot of money. That would be could be optimal for our team.
There is in our meeting before the show a little bit of an edge to Mark. We hope it carries over to the program. Love the edge from the Sizzler, also known as the Quiet Storm. Coming up on today's show, Crossroads. I'll meet you at the crossroads where you won't be lonely. Players that are entering 2021 at a crossroads. The career can go this way or that way. Very good. Also, you're going to find out more about our podcast. You're going to check out some of our show from the past week. And by the way, if you like our podcast, check it out 2 times a week, the Around the NFL podcast. But before we do anything else, we have to hit the news.
I'm going to approach this like I do every season, like it's my last. I mean, I think that's the approach you have to take. And you don't approach it that way because it could be your last, but you approach it because every single play in the game of football could be your last. Every game could be your last game. And that just means I'm going out to give it everything I have. I've never looked towards the future. I've always looked towards the right here and now. And that's what's important for me for this season is giving everything I have right here and right now for this group of guys. I'm just going to give it everything. I want to win a Super Bowl this year. I think that's always everyone in this building's goal. I mean, every building around the NFL, that's everyone's ultimate goal. So I'm giving everything I have to win a Super Bowl this year because it's this year, and this is the most important year for any of us.
Big Ben's got a little bronze to him. He looks like he's been in the sun enjoying the offseason on some level. At the same time, Greg, does it feel like last summer we knew Drew Brees, it was going to be this season, and then he was out the door? I get that feeling with Big Ben that this is it for him one way or the other. You feel the same way?
I do. Contractually, it makes sense. The way he's playing, it makes sense. The future of the Steelers, it makes sense. But I know Ben Roethlisberger's not thinking it. I don't think so. I think he is paying attention to everything the cognoscenti, like us, are saying, and he's taking names. And what I want out of Ben Roethlisberger is to just embrace the villain role. He reminds me a little bit of Novak Djokovic, to go to a different sport. It's like he always wants to be loved, but it's not going to happen. So just embrace the villain role. He's blocked everyone on Twitter. He's taken names. He thinks we're all done, and I want him to have a good season and stick it in our eyes, especially Browns fans like Mark.
I mean, first of all, I'm the one here that hasn't been blocked by Big Ben, Greg. You have. So commentaries from your past must
I'm proud to be
him.
blocked.
Well, there you go. I mean, so you guys are the villain role on some level. I would say this. I mean, Big Ben can be a little tedious, and we like to poke fun at him. But in this offseason, he isn't even in the top 10 of annoying quarterbacks. Everyone else is I want to be lodged in the front office, making huge decisions. I want more respect. I want more money. I want to host a game show. I want to drop nuggets of drama every 5 minutes during the offseason so no one can rest. Big Ben, at least, people kill him for saying that he went and said, I'll take more money. He at least accepted more money without too much of a hullabaloo. So I'll give him this. He has been pretty drama-free in a drama magnet offseason for quarterbacks. So I'm usually the one killing this guy. So I don't know what's happening here. We're in the deep abyss in terms of offseason commentaries.
Just enjoy it, Mark. Sometimes Greg works up these narrative pretzels, and now Big Ben is maybe I should be a villain to end my career. I don't even know what that means. But Greg, you know what I do enjoy? I enjoy the selfless nature of Big Ben. Just one more clip from his media this week.
Sure. Ray, it was my idea. I told him I want to help the team out however we can. And so I went to them and told them that I would do whatever I could to help the team sign, the guys that are going to help us win football games. In order to do that, to help get guys here, I felt that it was necessary to do that.
Villain, more like American hero, Greg Rosenthal.
Right.
Oh, come on. It's no, hey, I'm not being fired, Danny Ainge. No, this is the time I want to take a time away. I'm the guy who's the leader. I have to make that I wanted to take a pay cut. Come on. I don't believe it.
I love this new Greg who, like, he's tweeting about basketball. He now has a tennis podcast. So every time he dips into football commentary, he's got to go on, a rant about some other sport. We get it. You're a
by the way, making Ben Roethlisberger embracing a villain role, that is hardly a narrative pretzel here. I love his playing style. I don't think he's been the most popular quarterback among fans over the last 15 years. It's not a hot take.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm not going to argue that. Moving on, Josh McDaniels, offensive coordinator of the Patriots. He's feeling good about Cam Newton heading into year 2 with the Patriots. He had this to say: he has a different grasp of the offense. Some Patriots fans will want Cam Newton to have a different grasp on the football because of some of the passes we saw last year. However, I guess you could, Mark, say that this is not quite an offseason trope because it was a tough offseason for anybody to come in the COVID year of 2020. Now he's got a lot more reps and a lot more time to study. This kind of checks out a little bit for me. How about you?
It does, and I don't think Josh McDaniels would say something like that just to whistle Dixie. I think the Cam Newton probably is in a much better place with the Patriots. The roster looks a lot better on offense. I mean, they were so limited in what they could do. They were the last in the league in 2 tight end sets a year ago. They'll probably lead the league in that after who they signed in the offseason. So there's a better environment. That said, I mean, you have Mac Jones. I wonder what happens to Cam Newton if he throws like a killer interception in the third quarter of week 1 against the Dolphins. I mean, Dan, I'll say one other thing. I find it interesting that Cam Newton has been such a good fit inside a Patriot place. They all rave about him. And we were at a hideous sports bar called, remember that Sports Harbor place in LA? I think there's probably like dead bodies buried there. And we were watching Cam Newton getting crushed by the Giants. And like late in the game, he's pulling his Superman act. It's not someone you thought would fit in with the Patriots, and yet he has.
He's matured, no doubt about it. Greg?
I mean, he also has better players around him. That's what I'm more excited about as a fan of Cam Newton, who wants to see him keep this job for as long as he can. But Mac Jones is getting a lot of pub. The media likes him. Belichick seems to like him. I think Cam Newton's going to have to make this offense work early. And it should help. I mean, he had the worst weapons around him in the league. Now he's got some receivers. He's got some tight ends. This is a tough offense to pick up. You see it with receivers. You see it really with most quarterbacks that enter the system. Like, they've had it for 20 years. A lot's built up. So hopefully Cam Newton has a better grasp this year.
By the way, Mark, you've mentioned it in a couple, or you've mentioned it, and I've read it in a couple of places, that the Pats, the two tight end sets, never used really last year. They'll use it the most this year. Belichick, he reads this stuff. He's going to go out of his way and never use 2 tight end sets this year. It doesn't matter if he spent $1 trillion on 2 tight ends. He's going to stick it to you because you think you know football, but you don't.
Okay. I mean, that would be an odd thing for him to do, but fine.
He does odd things every once in a while. All right. Finally, speaking of the Patriots, a former Patriot is Tom Brady. He is the reigning Super Bowl champion with the Bucs. It stings Greg. He pretends like he doesn't, but it kills him.
No. Happy for him. Look at all the joy he brought me. Don't be bitter.
I'm not bitter. I just left that gap so you could just
just
walk in the glory of Tom Brady as a Buccaneer. Anyway, Brady is recovering from knee surgery, and Bruce Arians, in the lead up to the draft, said, "Hey, Tom, while you're in recovery, I'd like your help, and let's scout some wide receivers together." He sent some tape, and I guess he played a role in the draft process. Is this, Greg, a subtle way, again, to get Aaron Rodgers fired up? Like, this is what organizations do when we love our franchise quarterback. We involve them in all facets of the organization.
That's true. When Arians is asking Brady to scout receivers and the Vikings are giving Kirk Cousins a heads up, Rodgers is out there stewing. And it's a nice political move because okay, scout the receivers. We'll really listen to you, Tom. Apparently what he said he really liked is big, fast wide receivers. I mean, not exactly breaking the scouting model here. The receiver they drafted is 5'7", by the way. He's about my height. So I don't know if they totally – yeah, I don't know if they totally took his advice, but at least you make him feel like he's part of the process.
I mean, he's getting Jalen Darden. He's getting a little compared to Antonio Brown, so there is some shared chemistry. They drafted him in the 4th. If I'm Tom Brady, I demand that you draft a wide receiver in the 6th round to carry on that legacy and say, you were picked by Tom Brady in the 6th round. Your destiny will be nothing but golden.
They waited till the 4th round. If I'm Brady, I'm saying I'm retiring unless you fire Jason Light, the GM. You did not respect me. I gave you all these scouting reports. I said what I liked. Tall, fast. You took small. I'm out of here unless you fire a man.
Power play.
They've got a lot of receivers. I think they're okay there.
All right. That's what's happening in the news. We're just getting started here on the broadcast. Coming up next, The Crossroads, a hit by Bone Thugs and Harmony back in 96. All the younger people at this company don't even know what the song is. We'll see some players at the NFL Crossroads coming up next. I miss my Uncle Charles. I did not know that.
Wow.
If you're new to us here on NFL Network, Around the NFL is also a podcast. Scan that QR code with your cell phone camera and you can download our latest episode. Here's our little bit of our conversation earlier this week on NFL figures at a crossroads. Crossroads. Let's get it going. I'll start. And I don't want you to get sensitive to this, Mark, but because there's more nuance to it. Baker Mayfield.
Let's go. I mean, I had a feeling this was coming.
Baker Mayfield is at a crossroads, but it's not because it's like Baker Mayfield, is he actually good? Maybe he's not actually good, blah, blah. No, that's not the angle I'm taking. If he gets that contract extension this summer, he's off the crossroads list, obviously. If he doesn't get it, and the Browns, it should be noted, have several guys, big time players that are up for extension. Some that are entering contract years right now. Others like Baker, and I believe is it Chubb as well, Mark?
Chubb, Denzel Ward
had their options picked up, or they have 2 more years left. But
I mean, Chubb and Ward definitely are on the re-sign list. I think Denzel Ward is the next guy up.
Right. You also have Teller, the guard that went nuts. Yep. He's coming up. Anyway, so there's a lot of business to be done for the Browns, and they have the option to wait it out. If they do, it could go one of two ways, and that's where the crossroads comes in for Baker. If he has a monster year, or he builds off this year and has a similar or even better year, and the Browns make a playoff run again, he's going to end up, when the contract comes, they're going to sign him next year, and he's going to get way more, you would think, than he would have gotten signing the deal this year. He might go from being just beneath the top quarterback's payday to the top one. Conversely, if he does have a down year, I'm not saying the Browns would move on from him because he's under contract next season anyway, but it changes a lot of things for him and it ramps up the pressure. So if indeed he does not get this contract, it really it puts him in a situation where his financial future and his Brown future is really magnified, and a lot will be riding on this season. Crossroads.
Yeah, I mean, it's impossible to disagree with the fact that he's at a crossroads, because you're wondering, I think still it's fair for certain people to say there have been ebbs and flows to his rather short career. And like, you can't just totally wipe away 2019, although there would be logical reasons to. But you look at last year and you look at the fit. He threw 1 interception in the regular season after week 7. In the NFL, there are 2 players that have had 11,000 passing yards, 75 passing touchdowns, and an 89-plus passer rating over their first 3 years. It is Baker Mayfield and Dan Marino. And look, you can
Mark
shape
came
those
prepared.
statistics.
He knew you were coming
you can
with
shape
this.
those statistics any way you want. But like, if you get the stretch version of Baker Mayfield, and we all, I think, Greg, we just watched like that Chiefs-Browns replay again. That version of Baker Mayfield is a winning quarterback in this system. He's in the same offense for the first time in his career in an offseason. So I think like the environment is good. If he can't respond to that environment, that's why you have a 5th-year option to take more time. They don't need to rush and do this. But there's no doubt that if he flopped, like, you don't have time in the NFL. You look elsewhere. So it's all about how he performs.
Which is why I was saying, like, it's not necessarily is Baker good or not. And those numbers, what you're saying, backs up that he's been, with the exception of that 2019 season, very good. It's more that it does create a situation. It's a high level of risk for the Browns, which I'm sure they're a smart organization now. They're weighing all this right now as they try to figure out a game plan, because it could become a Dak-esque situation, the way the Cowboys ended up getting burned in their contract, if Baker continues to progress. So they're rolling the dice if they don't do the deal. It could work out for them too, if it turns out he doesn't have a big year and they don't have to pay him as much. But obviously that's not great news for the organization either. It's a lot of interesting dynamics at play, and you do wonder if the Wentz and Goff extensions play into the thinking of the organization as well, because those obviously did not work out for their teams.
Yeah, I think this is where player empowerment, for lack of a better word, or noise of how much you want to make when it comes to your contract really makes a difference. Because if I'm the Browns, I don't want to give him the contract now. What's the big positive? If Baker Mayfield is gonna be happy enough behind the scenes and in front of a microphone, it's like, what's the upside of paying him now? It sounds like they're leaning towards doing it. And I understand giving it to him. It removes him getting asked a lot of questions about it if they're struggling or if they're playing well. Either way, it'll become like a bit of a focus during the season, and that's not ideal. But if I was the Browns, I would live with that, because you got him under contract for 2 more years, and if he plays great, I don't think he's going to get that much more next offseason than he get now. He's not signing that contract for less than whatever it's going to be, $32, $33 plus million a year. He's going to get a real contract, even if it's now. So if I'm the Browns, if he's fine rolling into next year, I would be fine too. And I'm going to throw out a duo. I don't know if that's not understanding the exercise, but they're teammates and they play the same position. So they make sense together. It's Chandler Jones and J.J. Watt. I think they both are at a crossroads and they're entering it together. J.J.
That's
Watt.
Nice.
Yeah.
They won't be lonely.
Right, that's true. They're going to have their buddies. You get a little long in the tooth. You go out to the desert. It's a move a lot of Americans do. These guys could have different careers if they can have a strong back nine. J.J. Watt, we kind of think, okay, he's at the end of his road. Same age as when Reggie White went to Green Bay. Can he have a second act? Around the same age of when Julius Peppers is still doing good things in Chicago and before Peppers went to Green Bay. Can he have a second act, J.J. Watt, like a Kurt Warner even, where he ends up being an integral part to a team that goes further? Then he starts getting back to that J.J. Watt that we thought he was the first few years of his career, which is an all-time great. And he's got that in his own way for that 5 years, but a nice little backstretch would really help change that. And Chandler Jones isn't J.J. Watt. But Chandler Jones has been one of the best pass rushers in the league since he entered it. He's coming off a major injury, but what worries me about him is he's coming off the worst month of his career before that injury, which got a little swept under the rug because it's only a month. It's a small sample size. He's turning 31 years old. Here's these two guys, which on paper might be the best edge rush duo in the league or one of them. they could go one of two directions. And I wouldn't even say Chandler Jones, you could, totally eliminate him from Hall of Fame consideration when you look at the resume someday. Maybe he's not quite there, but if he has a strong stretch and they're good with J.J. Watt, people think of Chandler Jones a little differently too. Teammates in the crossroads. They're not lonely.
It's funny because I was thinking of their head coach Cliff Kingsbury for the Crossroads.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The whole organization feels like it is a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, Kyler is not going anywhere, obviously. So his risk level entering the season is lower, but it feels like a really important season for the Cardinals, and some of these moves, like AJ Green, Crossroads guy for sure.
I feel like he's already lonely. He's lonely.
He's
in my mind,
already,
but maybe he can come
he's
back.
devastatingly lonely. Okay, who's up? Mark.
All right, I would like to dip into the coaching ranks because I think there's someone who is at a genuine crossroads, and his name is Greg Roman, the Ravens offensive coordinator. Because, here's the deal. You could put it all on Lamar Jackson, but there's no, Lamar Jackson passes the eye test in terms of being, an elite athlete that you would build a team around all the time. Can he become a little bit of a better passer? Yes, we see that. We know that, and they knew that when they drafted him. Greg Roman did an excellent job integrating his skills with an offense that zigged when the rest of the NFL zagged. And Greg Roman's done that in various stops in San Francisco and Buffalo. But the Greg Roman experience, the problem a little bit, we all know, is it gets a tad stale. And, last year, a team that is essentially streaking towards the playoffs, they had a few bumps, but the Ravens were clearly a playoff team. They've got their wide receiver, Hollywood Brown, going nuts over the issues on offense. You've got Lamar Jackson telling the Rich Eisen show that defenders are calling out the plays pre-snap. Greg Roman, months later this offseason, said, we are going to expand the offense. We have to change it a little bit. We've got to become a little more versatile. You went and got Sammy Watkins. You got Rashad Bateman in the draft. You've got more help at wide receiver. Your tight ends are healthy again. That was an issue last year. There's no reason for the Ravens not to look a little bit different, not to respond a little bit differently to what's happened over the past 2 years under the Greg Roman offense. And if it doesn't, I think Greg Roman is in hot water.
I think that's a great choice. And they went from first in DVOA on offense to 11th a year ago. That's been the track record. It's on him to kind of prove what I think a lot of people in the NFL think about him, and that I think was a little bit echoed in Hollywood Brown. Does he have another move here?
It could be. He feels like a guy that his career wouldn't be at a crossroads. I feel like he'd get another job somewhere based on his track record. But as a
I don't know, as a coordinator
in Baltimore, I mean, he's presided over some big offenses.
Yeah,
and I
he's
feel
a very
like someone
unique
would buy into that.
What a unique history he has. I mean, he's worked for the two Harbaugh brothers, and then he had the good Tyrod season, the best Tyrod season Tyrod ever had. But he very much like whatever he does starts wearing off after that first year in every spot. At this point, you have to consider it a significant trend.
Well, also, everyone we're talking about is going to get another job. But it would be a significant crossroads to lose essentially your third role as a play caller. You may not be a play caller again for a while.
Yeah, that's me wearing the hat Rob Lowe made famous, and I'm proud of it. Also read his memoir, Stories I Only Tell My Friends. True story. Up next, what they say versus what they mean. OTA's edition, part 2.
I'm just going to come in every single day and give it everything I got.
There's a good energy in this building.
This guy comes to work every day.
Just, take it day by day.
It has had good energy so far.
I feel like I could give him, everything I got.
He just wants to be the best quarterback he can possibly be.
It's been the same thing my whole career. It's just go to work.
And you have somebody that's competing with you. They're competing for the jobs. So we got to compete. And to compete, I'm competing for my job. Shane's competing for his job. Gann is competing for his job.
We're just going to take it day to day.
I'm just trying to be the best quarterback that I can be for the Bills.
Mac, good energy.
Cream rises to the top when you compete.
Bravo to the Around the NFL broadcast production team. That's the way it is right now. That's how these press conferences go. The coaches and players, they say one thing, but it doesn't necessarily, it's not what they mean. That's where we come in to decode all that business. Mark, get us going.
Well, let's talk about what Andy Dalton had to say this week, and maybe we can throw it to this clip right now.
I knew the situation I was going into, regardless if they drafted somebody or they didn't. I was on a one-year deal, and I was going to be the starter. We've got a great room. I think that's one thing that's been cool. For me, obviously, I didn't know Justin before this. I knew Nick a little bit, but I think it's a great room. Nick and I both are trying to share our experiences with Justin, and just like I said, just trying to help him in any way.
I mean, look, Andy Dalton seems like one of the nicest people in America. So, no, I'm not really in on cutting him down at this point. But I would say this, there is a Pro Football Talk report that the Bears had promised Andy Dalton that he would be the week 1 starter. Okay, but if you're Matt Nagy and you promised that, and then you go draft Justin Fields, what are you telling your locker room about this so-called competition everyone's talking about left and right? And honestly, what if Justin Fields just outshines Andy Dalton and blows up in the preseason? I enjoy Andy Dalton sort of you can see he's got a little bit of confidence there because maybe he has been told this or that. And maybe he will start week 1, but I just don't like the new era for the Bears here. I think you go let the best quarterback win this thing. And, if not, what are they doing? Matt Nagy is fighting for his job.
I mean, yeah, he sounded like he thought he was the starter. It occurred to me, you said, what if Justin Fields is clearly the best player on the field? And what if Nick Foles is throwing the ball the best on the field? People forget Nick Foles is on the team. Okay, he's not going to play, but it's just very strange to me Nick Foles is even there. I do think Dalton's going to get a chance, though, and it's going to be very uncomfortable, and maybe that's what we're seeing in front of the Chicago media. It's not going to be fun for Dalton to talk to the media. I think he's going to get his chance. Sunday Night Football, week 1, Bears-Rams. I think we're going to see Andy Dalton in that game.
Can we flex week 1? Is that an option? Andy Dalton, I've been watching him and we've been covering him for years. I don't remember hearing him talk too often. He really is. He's like a super nice camp counselor. I don't know if that always plays in the NFL, but good luck to him. Home against, at the Rams, as we said, home versus Bengals, at Cleveland, week 4, October 3rd, home against the Lions. Maybe that's when we see Justin Fields. Who knows? It's also June. Up next, Greg.
Let's get to Dan Campbell. We could always use a little more Dan Campbell in our life talking about Jared Goff here.
I don't want to get too far on this right now, but I'll tell you what, yesterday was impressive. He made some throws yesterday that were just, my gosh, they were outstanding. Pinpoint, accurate throws. He was good on his read. I felt like he had one bad throw yesterday, and it was really more. He was late on the throw. But I want to say he made about 5 throws that were just, wow, okay, that's really good.
I love Dan Campbell. I mean, that man fills up a screen. I take 2 things from those comments. Number 1, stop picking on Jared Goff. I'm a big, strong man. I'm Dan Campbell. Just stop picking on Jared Goff. Number 2, I just watched Drew Brees and Taysom Hill throw the ball in practice for 2 or 3 years. And Jared Goff can throw the ball pretty well. He's going to look a lot better in off-season practices. So Dan Campbell's not lying. I would never question anything Dan Campbell.
I'm a little bit worried about how you analyze Dan Campbell. And the first thing in terms of searching for a compliment is he fills up that screen. He's large physically.
Yeah, I'm with you that Jared Goff can throw the football, but put me inside a mailbox and send me to September. I just don't need to hear these comments on any level. This is the kind of stuff that just feels like a hot wind.
All right. How about the bits, though, that he does? That was not the only thing he talked about this week. I mean, he's got comedy bits, Dan Campbell.
What is happening here?
I guess he doesn't actually say anything. It's more of like a physical
Sure,
comedy.
physical.
It's just, I think there was a F1 event or some sort of racing going on. He's promoting it.
Hey, this is all okay, and I have no problem with this. The NFL could use more people that don't take themselves seriously at all times. But this stuff plays in the summer. If they're 1-6, it's not going to play in the same way with Detroit and a fan base that really is waiting for a better tomorrow. All right. I'm very upset, by the way. I can't believe we're not going to talk about Nick Sirianni in this segment. He has been a star in these press conferences. But instead, I will move on. We just talked about Jared Goff. His replacement in LA is Matt Stafford. Here's what his blindside tackle had to say about him.
It's almost invigorating and also a little nerve-wracking to come somewhere else where there's an expectation. And so for him, there's going to be this expectation of how he'll play. And I think that it almost like fires you up and makes you feel like a rookie again, just in the sense of getting drafted high and feeling like, hey, people are relying on me to come in and play well. And I don't know a lot of the guys in the locker room. And I think that his mentality is as similar to mine was. And that's why I think he'll be great. I mean, he's a natural leader and he's a guy's guy.
He's a guy's guy. He's a dude that you can go get some wings at and talk chicks and talk the NBA playoffs. Does that mean Jared Goff wasn't that dude? No, probably not. But I'm sure Jared Goff, like an ex looking at his partner moving on and starting a new life, it probably hurts a little bit to see Andrew speaking that way.
Yeah, I think the Rams, like the coaches, the players, the fans, everyone's like a little too excited for Stafford. You should be. But that if you're Goff in Detroit, you're noticing that. You're keeping tabs on that.
I mean, including the coach and the GM and everyone else running the team. So it's like you've been sent out of town, and there is a revenge game between these two. So I can't wait to see how Goff handles that. Aaron Donald suddenly versus Goff becomes a sinister showdown that I will have my eyes glued to.
Sinister showdown. By the way, pull up a shot of Whitworth from that presser again. I mean, that is Michael Jordan had the best bald head ever. But in the Mr. Clean bracket, this is a #1 seed. Look at that dome.
Wow.
Look at, I mean,
nice.
that is a fresh shave. Look how the light's hitting it just so, and look at the symmetrical nature of it. You don't get much better than that.
He former guest of the Around the NFL podcast, and look, like we're like the fountain of youth. We've really helped Whitworth's career last even longer.
That's what he tracks it to.
All right, coming up next on the broadcast, Greg. You did a great job on projected starters, but it doesn't mean it was perfect. There are some things that we need to talk about. We're going to do it coming up next on the broadcast. Welcome back to the broadcast. All right, Greg Rosenthal, you've done it again, my friend. NFL.com/projected starters. You went through every division, every team, and laid out how they're going to look on opening day, at least from your perspective. And you had nice write-ups to it. Just really good work, Rosenthal.
That's great.
But
I'm
waiting for the but.
Some things didn't go so well. Some of your takes need to be discussed because some are frankly not right. I call this projected starters exposed.
Bring it.
I'll start. Let's go. Let's start right here. And if you're a listener to the podcast, this is well-trod territory, but I can't let it go. Denver Broncos. I like the way you set it up, Greg. You say, look at this team. Look at this defense. Look at the offensive players in place. This is a top 5 type roster if they get good quarterback play. And then you mentioned how Von Miller is talking about Teddy Bridgewater like he's going to be the starter over Drew Lock. But in all your great analysis, not one line saying, but why did they go this route anyway, Teddy or Drew? I just thought that was a bit of a misfire in your analysis, just acting like, well, this is just the way things are and it's fine, where we should be more, take more issue with the way Denver handled this situation in totality.
I mean, it's not analyze the offseason moves, it's projecting the starters. I noticed you're not picking any bones here with who I actually projected to start, because that would be picking bones with Mike Silver. In his article, he said Bridgewater, presumptive starter, after spending the whole weekend with their front office. So I trust that. And I trust that you guys will find any way to jam Teddy into this show. At this point, I'm not the one bringing him up. It's your fault.
You're carrying that Teddy Bridgewater up and down the hill, but you are right. I will, I'll allow that. I kind of botched it in the sense that you're right. Teddy probably will be the starter because they saw more than enough of Drew Lock.
Top 5 roster. Broncos fans, you got a chance. I think this has a 12-win ceiling.
Filibuster on.
Mark, how about you?
First of all, you can tell this is gonna be a tough exercise because, like, going at Greg, he's like the wheels are spinning. He's going to come back with a nuclear bomb. But I think this AJ Green that the Cardinals offense could make or break the Cardinals offense. It caught me off guard. I get what you're saying because they need someone big to come in and be helpful in the red zone across from DeAndre Hopkins, but the guy played like 9 games in 2018. He played no games in 2019. Last year, he had his worst year career-wise in terms of yardage, yards per reception, and touchdowns. And at times by the eye, I mean, he looked like our producer, Jason Kleinman, running routes. So I'm a little concerned that the Cardinals offense is make or break based on what AJ Green does inside of it.
Unnecessary shots fired, but you're right. Kleinman has bad knees for a man his age. I think the analysis made sense. Now, what you seem to be saying is you think AJ Green's going to break it, and I would tend to agree, but I think they need him because Christian Kirk hasn't really done it for them. They draft Rondale Moore. You're hoping a second-round rookie. Like, they need a second receiver. I don't think they have enough weapons. I think they are really counting on AJ Green to be a big factor. That's a projection that I'm not making either.
I just think if that's their front office's move, like that they're counting on him in that way, I'd be a little concerned as a Cardinals
They're paying
fan.
him the money that indicates they are.
Mark, I think you were right. I think Greg totally missed the mark on that one. Make or break, too strong on AJ Green. Too strong. All right. You know what, Greg? I think you blew it at the 49ers quarterback position as well. You have Trey Lance projected as the week 1 starter. I don't see it that way. I don't think that's how it's going to play out. Everyone keeps on thinking that Jimmy G is going to get traded. It's not happening. It's just not going to happen. If it hasn't happened yet, I don't see it happening now. And with the roster the way that it is, and for all the hype around the 49ers and how much potential they have coming off the injury wreck 2020, they still need a lot of things to kind of click back into place. It's not just locked and loaded 13-4 season. And what Jimmy G gives them is a little bit stability out the gate, and they can get some things in order. And then if he's struggling or if he gets hurt again, then you slide in the kid. I think Jimmy G's starting the season.
I disagree. I just got excited watching those Trey Lance in a 49ers uniform clips for the first time. You think Kyle Shanahan's getting excited? You think he traded up all those draft picks because he likes Jimmy Garoppolo? Like, no, it's because he doesn't want Jimmy Garoppolo. And technically, not to be, too picky here, but I am projecting who's going to have the most snaps for the season. So I do believe it'll be Lance week 1, but I definitely believe it'll be Lance over the course of the season over Jimmy G.
What do you think, Mark?
Well, all right. Listen, let's get off of that topic. Justin Herbert. All right. I know that Greg loves Justin Herbert, so I'm not
It's
doubting
getting
that.
weird. It's getting weird.
Here's the thing, though. I think there's a little bit too much Greg's concern about Justin Herbert in this new offense, because here I look at a guy that last year played behind PFF's worst offensive line. By the way, did not plan to start. Tyrod Taylor was dealt wrong by the doctors. In comes Justin Herbert, and absolutely looks like the future of the NFL all season long. So I'm not that concerned about him going into a different offense with a full offseason to prepare as the number one guy.
Yeah, the receivers are a little thin. You got Jared Cook at tight end. You're expecting the offensive line to be better, and you've got an offensive wizard, Joe Lombardi. I don't know. I don't like the idea of everything goes great for a rookie quarterback and you change the offense. But I am coming at it from the vantage point of a fan, where I'm thinking like things could go wrong.
I just hope Justin Herbert has grown his hair back out. Has he? Has anybody seen any of the OTAs?
I think
Middle.
Little bit.
Okay, all right, we're getting there. All right, good conversation. Greg, overall, very solid work. B-.
Not exposed in the least. I give your exposing a C+.
All right, B- defeats C+. Coming up next, which coaches could stick with their current team for the long haul? Let's talk about that next on the broadcast. Welcome back. Duke basketball coach Mike Krzyzewski announced this week he's retiring after the season. 41 seasons with Duke, 5 national titles. Got us thinking, here are the longest tenured head coaches. Belichick at the top of the list. Peyton, Tomlin, John Harbaugh, Pete Carroll. Of that list, I feel like all of them have many years left, and I hope that they do in the coaching game. Who do you guys think are the next crop of longest tenured coaches? Who wants to get us going?
Well, I'll start. First, I want to thank Coach K for blowing the 99 championship against the UConn Huskies. The first championship of any team I ever root for. Rip Hamilton, what a job. Sean McDermott, someday I think he's going to get a trophy too, is my choice. The Buffalo Bills coach, what a rebuilding job he's done. They spent 20 years looking for someone to replace Marv Levy, and they couldn't do it. And they finally did it with new ownership. He's loyal. I think he's steady, and I think he'll be there a really long time. And if you disagree, like Sean McDermott will wrestle you. Like, not a huge guy, but he's thick, and he will wrestle you. He's staying around.
He's like a spider monkey.
Oh, yeah. Another ATN guest back in the day.
We had McDermott on our show, and I explained to him that I once lost to a girl in wrestling back in like early middle school, which he didn't respect entirely. But let's stay in the AFC
Was
East.
she in the same weight class as you?
The details are hazy. I also have kind of blocked it all out. But not a great moment in my childhood. But let's stay in the AFC East, okay? All right, Brian Flores with the Miami Dolphins. Here's a team that has not won a playoff game since the year 2000, Y2K, when people were worried about like computers crashing all over the world. Brian Flores, to me, you just have to hear what the players say about him. They absolutely love him. And you know what? He's not just a Belichick clone. I think he does things his own way. I love that already in year 2, he does so much with the roster he has. They went 10-6. And there were Sundays where you could see that they schematically just blew up opposing quarterbacks. And Tua has to work out. That's a big part of this. But you are married with Chris Greer in the front office in a very effective way. It kind of reminds me of the Bills, an organization in the downtrodden AFC East that got its act together finally. I think Flores will be around for a very long time and win multiple playoff games.
He's off to a very nice start. He's some of the in-house stuff. He's had like 14 offensive coordinators, things of that nature. But the front office and the management obviously believes in him for sure. You know who I believe in?
Yeah, they're great. How about the AFC East turning things around?
Yeah.
Speaking of which, I mean, those were fine, those guys, and they have a nice little track record early on. Robert Saleh. Let's talk about who's really going to be around forever. Hallelujah. It's a new start for the New York Jets. And Saleh is changing everything about this organization. Changing everything about this organization. From the top down. I mean, from the personnel to the vibe around the team, all gas, no break. Yes, Essler. Injury prevention, dietary routes in terms of getting the players at the right place they need to be. And the vibe is totally different. Everything's different around the Jets. And by the way, this guy loves New York. Check this out. Here he is on Twitter at a New York Islanders game. Look at that. The guy, he's one of the people. And the Islanders are on a quest for the Stanley Cup in their final year at the Coliseum. And check this out. The Knicks won one playoff game before getting bounced out by a superior Hawks team. Look at that dude in the background. There's Saleh at the Garden, single-handedly willing the Knicks to a second-half comeback in Game 2 of that series. He's a perfect sensibility fit. I love the man. He has not coached a game yet, but he's going to be there for years.
So hold on. Like, I totally agree with the fact that he'll be a good coach. Like, every new head coach is sent to like hockey and baseball and basketball games. That's not like a Robert Saleh scenario. I would just say this: as the Browns fan here, I did not go Kevin Stefanski. You could not contain yourself. You could not hold back. And Dan, I'm a little concerned.
Hasn't even coached the game. I mean, and you would think, as a longtime Jets fan, you'd be a little concerned about like overhyping things. There's a lot of Jets Islanders fans out there, and like it hasn't been a great 20 years for those people.
Let me say this, because I've been through the ringer as a Jets fan for the past 10 years. I don't know about Zach Wilson. You never know with the quarterbacks, and it's so hard to gauge. I feel like I know that they finally hired a head coach that you could believe in for the first time for me since Rex Ryan. And hopefully, like Rex did, they can take them back to the playoffs because no teams have.
I'm with you 100%.
All right, here we go. Moving on. I'm just excited. You don't know how hard that Adam Gase era was. It was brutal. We say goodbye with some final thoughts, weekend vibes, including do not skip leg day. Never skip leg day. All right, it's weekend vibes time. Greg, get us going.
I'm vibing this weekend with a good book. It's time for summer reading. So I just thought I'd give a shout out to the GOAT football writer, Paul Zimmerman, who's no longer with us, but his book still is The New Thinking Man's Guide to Pro Football. This story, oh, look at this! Dan's got the book. It blew my mind when I first read it. It made me think about football in a different way and want to write about it in a different way and just watch it in a different way. I know our friend Chris Wessling felt the same. So if you're looking for one football book to kind of get you going, that's a great one by Paul Zimmerman.
This is how Greg reads the book. Ooh. Oh, my. Football's God.
So you're now taking my vibe. You've like improved on my vibe. It's
great book, great man, love. Rest in peace, Dr. Z. Mark.
I mean, I've got the book on my bookshelf behind me too. I'm cool also, but I'm going to go with, I've like a dogged reporter sticks on a beat, and I'm on the meaty upper thigh NFL player beat. Mike Davis a couple weeks ago. Now we've got A.J. Dillon from the Packers, who's named his two quads Quadzilla and Quadfather. I mean, these look like Greg's legs if Greg's legs were 4 times bigger and muscly. So I don't know. That's my weekend vibe. I'm going to be paying attention to that and seeing who our next guy is on that track of scenarios.
I know that you're on the Peloton again after an injury, Mark. Maybe you can get up to that point. Who knows?
In about 7 years.
I do like Greg. I got on Mark's radar for pulling out a book because Mark's like, I'm the book guy. I like books.
No, it's just like,
I've been putting this together like carefully. I've been working on my lighting. Look at my books.
Finally,
all right, goodbye.
We love our international audience on the Around the NFL podcast. Germany is a place there's never been an NFL game played. Well, that could change. There's a report out there, Peter King, that the NFL is looking actively in playing games in Germany, one of the biggest markets, economies in the world, and a really strong NFL fan base out there. How about send ATN to Germany? Not bad.
Munich.
I like it.
Let's do it. We got a lot of listeners there in Munich.
All right, we're off for a couple of weeks. Thank you for everybody that supports us. Check out the podcast and have a great weekend. Enjoy your vibing.